Hello, everybody, and welcome or welcome back to the second shelf. And yes, it's that time of the month again. Book haul. And it is March, I know, but it's about the books that I bought in February. Somehow I just didn't manage to film a book haul in the month that I got the books. So we'll just roll with it, right? But once you saw the blouse, you knew what was going on. So you will probably get two book hauls in the month of March, because I will also buy books in March. Who cares? On to the books. The first book, I have 9 books to talk to you about. So the first one is Susan Sontag Death Kit, published in 1967. This was her second novel after The Benefactor, which I read in January. And if you follow my channel, you know that each year I do what I call an author spotlight. So I try to read all of an author's work, and an author that didn't write like 100 books in chronological order. And the last time I did Louise Erdrich, and this time around I'm doing Susan Sontag. So this is the third book for March, her second novel. And it's about Diddy, I think is his Dalton, his real name, but is called Diddy. And after a botched suicide attempt, he, spirals down in some horrible, nightmarish kind of experience of life. That's just what I got from the blurb. I have no idea. I have never read this book. Because it's also considered one of Susan Sontag's weaker works. And if you remember, maybe if you watched my review of The Benefactor, it didn't really like it, but it was a debut. But obviously, we'll see. We'll just see. But I'm going to read through her work, and this is her third book, so I will read that in March. The next one is a translated work of nonfiction, and I have been waiting for the translation, and now I have an itch, for quite some time, because it had been already published in German. It's a French author, and this is the book. Let me go a little behind. Mona Chollet, In Defense of Witches, and it has been translated by Sophie Lewis from the French, obviously, and it was just published a couple of weeks ago. And I thought, what I read on the tin and about the book, I thought this is fantastic. Why women were made witches, and I'm interested in not witchcraft. I'm not a Wicca, but I'm with Madeline Miller on that. When she talks about Circe, sort of the first witch in Western literature, she always talks of witches in terms of women who have too much power, or who led a life that was not supposed to be like you lead your life. And I agree with that a lot of times you had, of course, women called witches because they were healers or something like that, or for political reasons. But a lot of times I feel is that there are women who behave in a way that was not deemed appropriate. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it says In Defense of Witches. So I hope that will be fun. And then the next one is an older work of nonfiction published in 1996 by Laura Kaplan, The Story of Jane, the legendary underground feminist abortion service. I knew about Jane. It was a underground abortion service in the late 1960s in Chicago, up until Roe versus Wade came along, and you could have a legal abortion, but before that, abortion was illegal in the United States. And this network of women, they helped other women who wanted to have an abortion to get an abortion. And I knew about that, but hadn't thought about it for the longest time. But then I think in December, I read We Jane, the debut novel by Amy Wall. And this novel was inspired by this network. It's not about the network, don't get me wrong, but it was inspired by that network. And then I thought, I want to read up on Jane. So hence, bought this book. The next two are for the Booktube Prize. I am judging again. I love the Booktube Prize. If I remember, I will leave links to the website of the Booktube Prize and to the channel. We just started. It's now I think it's the 4th year, and now we have even 3 categories: fiction, nonfiction, and translated fiction. It's fantastic. And I'm judging for this first round, the Octofinals that just started. I am judging fiction, Group A, and I have 2 books left. And the first is this one, Fight Night by Miriam Taves, a Canadian author that I really, really love and admire. Her book, Women Talking, I thought was brilliant. All My Puny Sorrows was brilliant. This has mixed reviews. It's a coming-of-age story with a child protagonist, and if you follow my channel, you know me and child protagonists normally don't gel, but it's Miriam Taves, so I would have read the book anyway, but it's in the Octofinals of the Booktube Prize, so that means that I have to read it now. I might have postponed it a little bit because of the not so fantastic reviews, but I will read it in March because the deadline for the Octofinals is the end of March. So I have plenty of time to read the 2 books, even though the next one is not something I would have picked up, to be honest, but maybe the book surprises me, and that's the final revival of Opal and Knave by Dawnie Walton, a debut novel published obviously in 2021. Dawnie Walton is a Black American author, and this is kind of the invented story of a duo, an entertainment duo, singer, a duo, a black and a white combination. What is that book called? And the Six, something that was also kind of in that vein. It's just not a topic that interests me a lot. So like I said, I wouldn't have picked up this book, even though there were some people on BookTube. I think Greg really loved this book and said we should read it. But I think one of the good things about something like the Booktube Prize is that it forces, quote unquote, forces me to also read books that I would have never picked up. And there were books in previous years that I read for the Booktube Prize that I would have never picked up that were brilliant. So who knows? Then the next book is a nonfiction again, and this time for Spineless by Julie Burwald. And it's just what it says on the tin: The Science of Jellyfish and the Art of Growing a Backbone. Julie Burwald, and I picked this because it's the March pick of the Book Naturalist Book Club. You know, that book club run by Heidi from My Reading Life and Doris from All the Books, where they pick 1 or 2 or something. Sometimes in some months they have author spotlights, so you can pick 1 book or more by a certain author. But in general, they pick a book, nature writing, mostly nonfiction, but sometimes also fiction, that we read together. I will leave a link to Heidi's announcement. Not announcement video so much. It's a video she made last year where she talks about all the books that they picked, she and Doris picked for this year, because they pick it at the end of a year so that you have, you know what we will be reading throughout the year. So this is the March pick. I think there's a second March pick, but this is the one that I picked, and it's a combination of memoir and science writing. And Julie Burwald is what do you call that? Ocean science. She has a PhD in ocean science, but then she left her field, to become a stay-at-home mom, I think in Texas, and went back to work and then traveled all over the world. And jellyfish, I think, are just absolutely fascinating. I mean, I don't want to encounter them. I got bad burns from jellyfish a couple of times, but I think they are just absolutely amazing creatures. So I'm really looking forward to this one. The next is translated fiction. I'm just going to move the stack over here. Also for a bigger book club, and that's Mel's book club, Read Around the World book club, where we pick, or she picks, a translated work of fiction from a different country written by a woman each month. And in March, it's Croatia. And she picked Dasha Drindic's book, EEG, translated from the Croatian by, oh my dear God, badly prepared. Let me see. Sorry about this. Celia Hawksworth, and the Croatian. Another itch. The Croatian word. No, it's hair. Damn. Sorry. The Croatian book was published in 2016. And the English translation in 2019. I really love Dasha Drindic. I read a couple of her books. I think she was a brilliant author because she died sadly quite young. A couple of years ago, this was published posthumously, and she was only in her 50s. And I met her once when we had we both went to a book fair to give have a reading, and she was such a charming, warm, intelligent person. So yeah, it's really sad. But this is also like some other book, and this hair is really bugging me. I'm so sorry about this. Like the Death Kit, the first sentence of the blurb is like, after a botched suicide, and also a male character, but this is much more than a reflection. If you know Dasha Drindic's work, she always talks about the situation, 20th century violence, war. They're not, like easy reads. If you read Trieste, one of my favorites by her, you know what I mean. So this is also a reflection, on violence and suicides in the 20th century, and electroencephalogram, something, how you say that in English, that's what it means. For me, it's difficult to remember, not to remember that, but not to get confused, because EEG is also, before the EU, we had the EEG. So, but that's not what it means. Anyway, this is for Mel's book club. I know that it won't be an easy read, but yeah, Dasha Drindic, if you have never read her, highly recommend. She was a really, really intelligent, fantastic author. Then there is the last kind of bigger book club event, group read, that I'm participating also in 2022, and that's Invisible Cities. I will leave a link. I think. Yeah, Natalie's a video down below. You can have a watch if you don't know. But Invisible Cities is also picking, they're a group of people organizing it, I should say, not only Natalie. But I had to pick one. And they pick 2 countries each month. And then the idea is, to familiarize yourself with this country either by watching a movie or listening to music or cooking food or reading a book. And I don't cook. So I do the book thing. And they announce the countries really a couple of months in advance, I think 2 or 3 months in advance. So you have time, to look for a book, to get the book. And which is sometimes difficult. I will get to that in a minute. But for March, it's Dominican Republic and Norway. And for Dominican Republic, I picked this, and I think it was also a suggestion from Natalie, if I'm not mistaken. Rita Indiana, Tentacle, translated from the Spanish by this author. I'm not going to butcher the name because I tried in vain to find out how you pronounce it. I think the last name is probably Ovejas, but yeah. And this is kind of not sci-fi, dystopian fiction. So you have this dystopian world, and then you have your main protagonist. Her name is a young maid, Asilde Figuera. And there is a prophecy that she can go back in time travel, and save the world. It's climate change stuff, and she can save the world. And you have, tentacles, animals. So yeah, it's a short little book. I have never read this author. I don't think I've ever read anything from the Dominican Republic. So that is one of the reasons that these types of book clubs like Mel's or Invisible Cities are so good, because you are encountering authors, at least I do, I can't speak for you, but I encounter authors from countries that I probably would have never encountered if it hadn't been for that book club. So yeah, this is that one. And then I already said the second country is Norway. And then this happened. I ordered this, and I have to look up the author's name because it's also not that easy to pronounce. Kjersti Annesdatter Skosvold. The faster I walk, the smaller I am. A memoir. It sounded really interesting, and Natalie in her video, she read a couple of books by this author, and she read this one. So I thought, yeah, memoirs always, I love that. So I ordered this. But I got this. And you should have seen my face when I opened the package, expecting the book, and then getting this. And there was this split second, that I thought, why did I order this? This is a hair mask for blonde hair. Now, as you can see, I'm gray. But I was blonde before. So it was really weird. But anyway, so I don't have the book yet, but I reordered it. I sent this thing back, and I hopefully will get it, but I wanted to include it because it's also for Invisible City. And I also forgot to tell you the translator, Carrie A. Pearce, and the book was published in Norway in 2009 and in the English translation in 2011. So let's hope that next time I will actually get the book. Anyway, so this was my book haul, books I bought in February. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you know any of the books, tell me in the comments, or if you participate in any of the group reads, read-alongs that I'm talking about. I'm looking forward to any of your comments as always, and I'll see you all soon in the next one.